I was pretty sure I did not want to be a mother when I was about 8 years old, 8 to 9, very, very young. I just never had the maternal instinct. And I saw my parents being so stressed out by having to care for their children. And it just was not something that seemed appealing to me. I played with dolls, but it wasn't because I wanted to be a mother. It was just that's what little girls did back
Mm.
in the 50s and the
Hmm.
60s. But no, early on, I knew I just was not interested in being a parent. I've never felt that maternal calling that so many women speak of. And to me, it's when I hear women talk of it, I just wonder where that comes from because I certainly never have felt it.
Hmm.
So definitely early on, I knew I did not want to be a mother, and that has never changed.
So, what was it like growing up? How many siblings did you have, Ray?
Four siblings.
Oh, wow.
I think I was an unexpected baby because my eldest brother was 20 years my senior. The
Wow.
second brother was 17 years my senior. My sister was 15 years my senior. And my one remaining brother that's still living is 11 years my senior. So
Wow.
my mother had me when she was 46, very
Mm.
fertile woman, apparently.
Yes.
And really don't think I was expected, but there I came along as number five.
Wow. So, how did that impact you having siblings who are much older than you? And I guess having parents who were older than, definitely back then. I think probably now that can mid-40s, quite a lot of women seem to be doing this because they've delayed their careers. A lot of folks, and obviously with modern advancements in medicine, it seems it's able to help women have children later in life. But yeah, it must have been quite unusual for your mother to have had a child so much later in life.
Yes, and as I say, I'm pretty sure I was not expected.
Right.
But growing up, it was interesting. My family treated me as though I were just a tiny adult. And
Mm.
I never spoke baby talk, never did any of those things. And actually, my brother, that is closest to my age, only 11 years my senior, would take me on dates with him. And that was always a big hit with his girlfriend's parents, of course, that he brought along his
Right,
little
right.
sister.
Very
And they
smart.
were, and I'm told that everyone was always amused because I just acted like a small adult. I never acted
Wow.
like a child. And
Mm.
because I didn't have children of my age within my family to play with, I really didn't want to play too much with other children my age. I never, as a matter of fact, I found them rather mysterious because
Oh,
they would be doing strange things like pretending. And I didn't understand that because we didn't do
wow.
pretend games in my home.
Mm. Wow.
So I just was a small adult from the beginning until I actually became one.
Wow. I mean, I get, yeah, that makes a lot of sense if all of your siblings are older. I mean, did you ever feel like you missed out on being a child? Were you kind of a bit upset about being more parentified and having to take on more of that responsibility at a young age?
Not at all. It's funny. I so much was accustomed to being around adults that I just really didn't have any interest in other children. I didn't
Right.
want to play with them and I didn't want to be around them. I didn't like being in school because they treated us like children.
Yep.
So no, I didn't feel like I missed anything. I felt like I was living a perfectly normal life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's it. You are so used to what you're used to, right? It's your
Exactly.
day to day normal life.
That's
And
right.
so when you knew that you didn't really want to have children, did you talk about that with your family at all?
Not really. It never really came up. My brothers and sisters were so busy having their own children
Right.
that no one ever asked me if I were interested in having any. And so I
Right.
wasn't really pressured to give an answer, at
Mm,
least not within my family.
mhm,
People that I worked with occasionally would ask, why don't you want children?
mm.
And My response usually was, well, why do you want to have children?
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
I
Yes.
simply have no interest. And that was the response. I just have no interest.
Yeah.
And they seemed befuddled, but they had to go on and live their lives with their kids. I happily
Yes,
went
yeah.
on without kids in my
Mhm.
life.
I love that you were able to just kind of push back on those questions because I think there's a lot of we have to justify our decision, which is ridiculous because no one else has to justify their decision to have children. So why is it on us to justify our own decision? And I love that, you had that kind of strength to go, no, I'm just gonna push back on that to make you think twice about asking someone else.
Yes.
Um,
As my brother has always said, what is it of your business? What
mm,
does it matter to
absolutely.
you? It's my life, not yours.
Yep. 100%. That's the baffling thing with it, with this decision. It doesn't impact anyone else. It's our decision to make, but it is quite a bizarre thing when it feels like the whole world is interested in what we do as women, especially what we do with our reproductive organs. Did you yeah, how was it navigating that back when you were younger? Because obviously you were vocalizing this at a time when no one really was talking about not having children. Now in my day, we have social media platforms, we have celebrities talking about it. So it's much more common. But back when you would be talking about this, saying this, no one was saying it. So did you feel like you were kind of alone in that feeling? Did you find others who were like you?
I did feel rather alone, yes.
Mm,
Most everyone around me I knew planned to have children or was already creating a family, making
mm,
more of themselves.
right.
And I just was disinterested. And so I just would disconnect really from people that made babies because they were going to be living in a world so different from mine. And I
Mm,
really had no interest in it. A couple of women had babies and wanted me to be excited for them. And unfortunately, I just could not because I don't think it's a good thing to bring more humans into this overpopulated world.
mm, mm,
And one woman even sent me a photo of her newborn baby, I guess trying to bring some kind of emotion to me. And I just put it in the trash. I'm sorry. I just had zero interest. I did not contact her. And I just, when someone decides they want to make babies, I tend to withdraw. I just am not
right.
interested in associating with people
Mm,
with children because
right.
that's
I
all they
mean,
know to talk about. It takes over their whole lives.
mm,
And frankly, I don't find conversations about people's children to be very interesting.
right. Yes. And it's also so annoying to just be because I'm a woman, therefore I'm meant to have these particular emotions. I'm meant to
Right.
feel a certain way about seeing a newborn child or a baby or a toddler or whatever. And I just think it's ridiculous. We're on a spectrum and some women have zero maternal feelings. That's valid. There is nothing wrong with that. And it's just so frustrating to have this one vision of what a woman should be. And if you're not that, then the world is going to tell you there's something wrong with you. Did anyone kind of make you feel like there was anything wrong with you?
One coworker one time just looked at me and said, "But why? But
Mm.
why?" As though I were some kind of incomprehensible monster that wasn't
Mm.
meant to be on this earth.
Wow.
And I just said, "I'm just not interested," and left it at that.
Yeah.
Period. There's no
Yes.
more to be said.
Yes. I love just your strength of not trying to couch it in anything, not trying to say, I love my nieces and nephews, but I just don't want my own. Because this is something that we see in our community is if you don't have your own children, then you have to be nurturing or you have to care for something, you have to be maternal in some other way. And I just think we need to let go of that and say that women can be whatever they want to be. And if they don't want to look at newborn babies, if they don't want to be a nurturer, that is valid. And I love that you were so strong in who you were, who you are back then in a time when people really would have looked at you like you had two heads. So where does that strength come from, Ray?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think I just know myself very well.
Right.
And I know what I want and I know what I don't want.
Mm.
And I'm very comfortable in stating how I feel.
Yeah, I
I
love
just
it.
feel a great deal of inner strength, and I will always stand
Mm.
up for myself and for all women deserve autonomous body rights.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you're from a generation where you finally were able to access the pill, and that gave freedom to women. It truly is one of the greatest inventions in our world because it gave women freedom. Did you feel that shift in the world?
Absolutely. My father was very understanding. He knew that the human sex drive is very strong and that there's no avoiding it. The people are going to have sex when they are young, and that's just the way it is.
Mm.
So he had always told me, be very careful, and if it is necessary, I will help you to have an abortion. So he was a
Wow.
very supportive and thoughtful
Wow.
father of five.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
and then when the pill came along, yes, he was very supportive. He actually was a pharmacist, and he was able to supply me with the pill.
Wow.
So that was really quite wonderful. And I
Yeah.
did not have to worry about becoming pregnant,
Mm.
because my father was so supportive of me in that way.
Wow.
And also, I would like to add a little side note. The fact that my parents did have five children, I was discussing that recently with my brother, who's still
Mm.
living. And I read him my story that I had submitted to We Are Child Free.
Yeah.
And he commented that he didn't know that our parents necessarily really wanted to have five children,
Mm.
but it was more likely a matter that there was no birth control available,
Right. Yeah.
because I grew up in a generation with the pill. It had never occurred to me.
Yes.
But I believe he was probably right. I think it
Yes.
really wasn't a plan for my parents to have five children. That's just
Right.
how it happened.
Yes. I mean, that's it. You really experience that kind of a shift from maybe your mother not having that choice and actually just having
Right.
to accept what happens in her life to you being able to have that full bodily autonomy, which every person needs. So your father was incredibly supportive. What a wonderful experience to have a dad who truly was going to be there for you whatever happens. Not many people have that kind of incredible support, and back then that's amazing. What was your mother like then?
She was not as comfortable with the idea.
Okay.
Whenever news reports would come on about the pill, she would very quickly go over and turn off the television.
Wow.
I think she was a little anxious about the idea of her youngest daughter having sex,
Okay.
and
Okay.
didn't really want to talk about it or think about it.
Okay.
So the support was really mostly from my father. My mom was a very loving and caring mother, and I have only praise for her, especially having raised five children.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But no, it was an uncomfortable subject for her. But
Mm.
my father was quite open, and knowing that I had one parent that I could
Yeah.
be open and freely speak with was plenty of support, and I was
Mm.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I guess because he was a pharmacist, that kind of medical side, he probably maybe he saw it just as oh, this is a very not clinical, but this is a technical advancement that it can help. It can really help women have autonomy. And obviously, him, he wants you to be able to live whatever life you want. If he's supportive, he wants you to be able to make the choices that are right for you. But yeah, I'm just so glad that you had that kind of support. That's incredible. So then tell me then, what was it like? You left home. What age did you leave your family home then?
I guess I was about 18.
Mm.
I tried college and it wasn't really working for me. I was eager to get to work. I was eager to be an adult.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was working, at first, I worked in the pigeonhole secretary jobs. That was pretty much all that was available to women at that time.
Mm.
And then I had always been interested in technical things, and especially in television. And so I found a production company back in Houston, Texas, and was able to work my way into a job there and began working in early in the field of television.
Mm,
Wanted to go on further with that career. And so I found a vocational school in Florida that
mhm.
taught radio and television
Wow.
skills.
Right.
And so my father, again, very supportive, helped me enroll in that school.
Mhm.
And I took all of that training. And after that, I was able to obtain a couple of jobs as a radio disc jockey in Florida.
No way.
And
Wow.
yeah, and that was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. The first job was strictly a disc jockey. The second job, I was a disc jockey and the public affairs director. And so that
Wow.
was fun, but that was radio. I really
Mm,
wanted to work in television.
okay.
And so, in the background of all of this happening with my career in development,
Mhm.
I was in a romance with my eventually to be husband.
Mm.
And we were on and off, as couples tend to do in their
Mhm.
early relationships. So he had moved to Florida with me. It wasn't working out particularly well for him in Florida, so he decided to move to California.
Mm.
I stayed in Florida and worked as a DJ. We stayed in touch because we were falling in love, and he invited me to move to California with him. And so I packed up everything, moved to California, and we moved in together. And through a contact that my eldest brother had, I was able to obtain a job in television in Hollywood. And
Wow.
I was working on a show, a game show called Face the Music. And so from there, I was able to continue working in the television industry. And I worked in that industry. It was at the time the medium was film or video, and I was working
Okay.
mostly in video.
Mm.
And I worked in that career for about 15 years. And meantime, I had proposed to Bob and we married.
Wow, you
Yeah,
proposed.
I
Oh my god.
proposed.
You were just way ahead of your time, Ray. That's
Well,
fabulous.
I think he wanted to propose, but he knew I was so darn independent. He wasn't sure if he should or not.
Oh, I see.
So, so I took the initiative
You're like,
on his behalf.
oh, that's fab. That's amazing. Well, how did you just, yeah, surprise him? Did you tell me about the proposal?
Well, we were standing at the kitchen sink, just talking casually, and
I love it.
something just came over me, and I realized at that moment how much I really loved him, and
Oh,
I suddenly became kind of nervous and weak in the stomach, and kind of shyly turned towards him and grinned and said, "Would you like to marry me?"
oh my God. That's
and he
amazing.
and he shyly grinned and said yes.
Oh, wow. That's
So it was very
beautiful.
sweet. And we ended up
Yes.
being married by a justice of the peace in Santa Monica, California.
Oh, how incredible. Wow. So how long have you guys been together then?
We are going on April 16th. We will be celebrating our 47th anniversary.
Wow. Oh
So,
my gosh. What a
and
congratulations. That's
thank you.
incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, and we were dating on and off for about 3 years. So we've been together more or
Yeah.
less close to 50 years. So it's been a
Wow.
very good relationship. And
Oh.
fortunately, he is not interested in being a father. So it has worked
That's
out
good.
very well.
So I remember you shared in your story that I don't think you folks spoke that much about children. Is that right? When you were kind of in the early stages, could you share a bit more about that?
Yes, that's very true. We never even thought about talking about children. Kind of
Yeah.
funny. And I think maybe the reason we didn't think of is because deep down inside, neither of us were interested in having children. So
Yeah.
the idea of discussing it just never even came up. We just
Yes.
knew that we were very much in love. We each had ambition and we each had careers that we wished to follow.
Mm.
And we were supportive of each other in that way. And I don't think I really realized that children could have been an issue until one day we were standing in line at a store where we were shopping. And
Mhm.
I looked down and I saw a little girl and she was really cute. And I just commented, "Oh, isn't that little girl cute?" And I sensed this enormous tension from Bob, my
Wow.
husband. And I looked at him, I said, don't worry. Just because I think she's cute doesn't mean I want to have one.
That's it. Yes.
And he looks so relieved.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Oh, that's
And
so, yeah.
I think that's pretty much when we realized that we just both did not
Mm,
want to have children, and that was it. We didn't
yeah.
even have to have a discussion. It was just that moment of experience, if you will.
Mm.
And I realized his tension. I recognized it and felt it immediately, because I think if he had said something about wanting to have children, I would have had the same reaction towards him.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's so cool to hear you say this because my husband James and myself had the similar experience. We didn't talk about kids for I think maybe 10 years. We got together in our mid-20s, and then by mid-30s, really when I was thinking about doing this project, we actually were like, actually, yeah, we've never talked about this. And exactly like you said, that kind of told us that we had no desire for this thing that the world was telling everyone that you must do, you must have it. But if it didn't ever enter our heads to have that conversation, then really that was a good sign that nope, this isn't for us. And I'm so glad to hear from another couple that we're not weird. It's because,
Not at all.
we try and tell people, oh, talk about this in the early stages, because obviously what you don't want is for you to want one thing, your partner to want another thing, and then after 5 years, 10 years, then suddenly you're like, actually we're on different pages. So I give advice that I didn't take myself, but I feel like that's because we were just so sure we didn't want it. But I'm really glad that both you and Bob were on the same page. Clearly, that you guys were meant to be together. An incredible relationship you folks have.
It certainly does feel that way. And
Yeah.
there are funny ironies in our lives. His mother's name was Mavis Ray, but she always went by
Oh,
Ray.
no
And
way.
yes, and I go by Ray. His sister and one of my brothers had the same birthday. Bob's
Oh,
middle name
wow.
is the same as my brother's middle name. So there are
What?
all sorts of odd
Okay.
and peculiar similarities that, yes, it's a
Yes.
meant to be type of relationship.
Absolutely. This is fate. This is absolutely fate.
Seems
Um,
to be.
what James and I discovered is that when we got married in our 20s, the questions intensified. People were really then asking us, like, when are you going to have kids? Because it's for people, it's the next logical step, right? And James and I were just so enjoying our lives. We weren't thinking about that. Did you both experience that kind of pressure either at all?
Fortunately, no. I think it was apparent to everyone around us that we were
Right,
so determined in our careers,
right,
and that there just really was no question as, are you going to stop and have children?
right.
It was just evident that we were very determined to follow the path that we had set for ourselves. I think his Bob's mother was curious as to whether we would have children, because
Hmm.
Bob and his sister were the only two that Bob's parents had. They had two kids, and that was it.
Right.
His sister had one child, a girl,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think they were wondering, were we going to make them grandparents again?
Right.
And fortunately, I think one of the things I should say, that I loved most about my mother in law was what she never said. And what
Mm,
she never said was, when are you going to have babies?
that's a
um,
relief. Mm.
it really was a relief. There was no pressure. They were very understanding. My family was very understanding. And I guess maybe we are flukes in the child-free
Yeah,
community, but we just
amazing.
really never felt pressured by other people that we should be having children, other than occasional a coworker might
Right.
comment. But among
Yeah.
family and friends, it was never an issue, I'm happy to say.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear. Well,
Yes.
then you have to tell me more about the television career, Ray. How exciting. What was it like working in that kind of field back then?
Well, it was very interesting. As I say, at the time, the medium was film and videotape, and I primarily was working with videotape.
Hmm.
And yes, I met quite a few stars that most people wouldn't recognize the names of now, but at the time, I had the privilege of meeting Vincent Price, and Cliff Robertson was another movie star. Bob Newhart, a television star, George Burns, an old comedian that was very popular. So it was interesting. I had an opportunity. I met magicians and all sorts of Bob
Wow.
Hope, the comedian. I just
Wow.
met, yeah, all sorts of celebrities, and that was very fun. I was never interested in being in front of the camera. I always liked the technical side of things.
Right.
So I primarily worked as a script supervisor, which is essentially the director's right hand person.
Mm.
And so I would take all of the notes of all that was happening on the scene, as well as keeping actors up with their lines, etc. And then my work came in most importantly in the editing room, where I had written down all of the takes and which ones were the good ones to be used, etc. And I would work with the director in putting the program
Wow.
together that way. So it was a very interesting
Wow.
career. I did tire of it, however, because
Mm.
a lot of times it entailed hauling a lot of equipment around with me and
Mm.
working outdoors at times on different programs.
Hmm.
And it just became rather physically tiring. So I
Yes.
decided I would change careers. And I did.
Yes.
And for the next 12 years or so, I received training as what is known as a questioned documents examiner, what most people think of as a handwriting expert. So I
Oh.
received training in how to identify handwriting as to whether it was authentic or if it were
Wow.
forgery. I had a home based office and laboratory, and I worked with a number of attorneys and police officers and detectives and what have you, and examined documents. And I would give my findings. I was never hired to work for one side or the other. I was simply hired as an
Ah.
expert to determine the authenticity or lack of a document.
Wow.
And if my findings were favorable to the side that had hired my services, they would call and have me testify as an expert witness in court. And I learned to do that for the next
Wow.
12 years. And the hardest part was learning to testify in court. It's very difficult to be on that hot seat.
Wow. I bet yeah, I feel stressed just thinking about it. Yeah. Yes.
And so it was a challenge. I would examine the documents, and if the findings were favorable and they wished me to testify, I would make exhibits showing my findings, and then go up to the stand and show my findings and
Gosh.
answer questions from both sides of the case, the
Wow.
defense and the plaintiff. And the career went very well. By the just to blow my horn a little bit, by my
Please
very
do.
thank you, the very last case I worked on, the judge referred to me as the Mount Everest of experts.
How
So
incredible.
yeah, so that was a very
Wow.
rewarding career as well. However, at that point in our lives, Bob and I were working all the time. I mean,
Okay.
we worked all week. We worked all
Mm.
weekend on shopping, cleaning, laundry. It was just all work all the time.
Right.
And so Bob eventually, his career was going extremely well with Walt Disney Imagineering, where he had been promoted to
Okay.
a director,
Wow.
a director in terms of executive director, not like in the movies, but
Right.
executive director over employees. And so he asked me to retire,
Okay.
and I was in agreement with that.
Yes. Yeah, you worked hard enough. Yes.
Yes, I was ready for us to start living.
Yeah.
And so I retired. And then very quickly, I learned that my very active, busy mind in business was now not active at all. All it was doing was manual labor. And that's when I
Okay.
began to study Spanish and keep the mind active. So that's where I am currently, happily
Fabulous.
living, retired, learning Spanish, and
Wow.
also, my husband and I are animal rights activists. And so I
Mm.
spend a fair amount of time at protests. I've been
Okay. Oh, wow.
protesting a lot at rodeos and bull
Yeah.
riding events and horse tracks and all of the things where animals are horribly abused. So
Oh, gosh.
that
Important
keeps me
work.
busy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to talk about there, Ray. Wow, I'm just it was such an incredible journey that you've had, and especially as a woman, during a time when, I don't know, it must have been quite difficult as a woman in some of those fields. I imagine the television kind of industry, well, lots of industries back then were quite male dominated. So
You're
did you ever
absolutely right.
yeah, how you truly were a trailblazer. How was it being a woman, maybe the only woman maybe in the room sometimes, I imagine?
Well, that's a very good question. And yes, there was a lot of sexism involved.
Mm, right.
Yes, I was the butt of jokes several times
Mm,
because I was the only woman in the room. But, I've just had always had a very strong sense of self. Yes,
yeah,
I am a woman, and yes, I'm darn proud to be a woman.
yeah,
And so I just ignored the comments and did my job professionally. And that
yeah,
carried me through. And I continued to be hired and hired over again because my reputation was as strong as a professional in my field. And
yes.
that, I think, took that was recognized more. I was recognized more as a professional than as
Mm.
a woman professional. So
Yes,
that
good.
was good.
Yeah, you clearly, yeah, were incredible at what you did. So, we still face some of that sexism, but absolutely not to the level that you must have received it. But you just seem like such a strong person that I wouldn't want to mess with you either, Ray. So,
Well, thank
and
you, Zoe.
but yeah, I know just the people who are listening in are going to really be inspired by your story, because it just gives you a little bit more strength yourself when you hear a woman who just, they know who they are. They're not going to let someone else dictate who they're meant to be. And you didn't waver at any time, which is incredible. There's lots of myths that go around about being child free or not having children. Are there any myths that really kind of frustrate you?
Yes, I don't like it when child-free people are called selfish. I think that, quite honestly, I think it's quite the
Mm,
opposite. If I want to reproduce myself, is that
mm.
not being a little bit selfish?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, I see it as
Yeah,
quite the opposite. It's people who want to make themselves over and over again. I've heard so many people say, I want to see my face looking up at me. And that just
yeah,
strikes me as being incredibly egotistical.
right.
And I just hope that when people have children, that they really want to have the children, because
Yeah,
I have heard so many reports. Everyone has heard reports of children being beaten or starved or in horrible ways and dying
yeah.
at the hands of their parents.
Mm,
It's obvious that not everyone is meant to be a parent. And if there were not so much pressure societally to make children, I
yeah,
think a lot of people would feel free to not make babies and therefore maybe not feel the need to mistreat the babies they've made.
right.
It's really unfortunate, it's that there is so
Yeah.
much pressure to make babies when that people who shouldn't be making them are doing so
Yes.
and then hurting those very same babies.
Mm, that's it. We should be supporting the people who want to have children, who can have children, who are able to look after children the way that every child deserves to be looked after. And you're right, when we just pressure everyone into doing this thing that maybe they don't want to do, maybe they're not going to be good at it, maybe they don't have the means to do it well either. It just, it of course, who's going to be impacted by that? Children. And yeah, it really frustrates me as well. It's like there is no thought about the kids that we bring into this world. It's just like, just have kids, just have babies. And we're not thinking, should we have children? And we need to,
Exactly.
like you said early on, asking someone, flip the question back around to someone who's like, why don't you have them? Why do you have them? Is it to fulfill some fantasy of a little mini version of yourself? Is it, like you said, is it egotistical? Is it to fill a hole or a gap inside yourself that you think a child is going to fill? Because I see that as well sometimes. And that's really heartbreaking, because no child deserves to be a stopgap or a thing to be used to fix someone, to provide something to another person, whether that's elder care or love or whatever it is. We need to, yeah, ask really, why do you want children? And the reasons, about, if you delve into those reasons, it should be about, I want to raise a human for the rest of my life. And there should be, really, we should be flipping that question around, shouldn't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is so much responsibility that goes into being a parent,
Mhm.
and it is such a lifetime commitment. And
Yeah.
if one's heart and soul is not really into it, that's not fair to the child.
Right.
At that point, it really is extremely selfish. It
Yeah.
just really is one's own desire, not thinking of the needs of the child or anyone else around. And that's not good behavior.
Yes. Yes.
That also is not societally acceptable.
Right, right. Yeah. And this idea of selfishness, it's one of the most frustrating ones because what I see in the child free community is folks like yourselves who actually give back in so many incredible ways. The work that you do in your spare time, helping animals and or helping your community, there's lots of different ways that you are actually giving back. You're not selfish at all. But yeah, it's just one of those toxic myths. There's another myth that we hear a lot, which is that you will be alone when you're older. What would you say to someone who says that?
We're all going to be alone when we're older, and we're all going to die
Right.
alone.
Mhm.
So I would say don't count on kids to take care of you, because many times children leave their parents and never come back. And they really show no interest in their aging parents at all. And
Mhm.
so that is not something to be counted on. I would say if you're concerned about your status in your old age, build up your IRA, build up your retirement funds, make
Right.
sure that you are able, if necessary, to hire someone to help you to care for
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
Be proactive, plan ahead, make sure you're going to have money to take care of yourself when you are older, because you can't count on anyone else to do it. We
Right.
ultimately are the only ones that take care of ourselves. Now, being in a relationship is wonderful, and that's a real teamwork experience that is invaluable. And
Mm.
I'm sorry for people that want it and never get to experience it, because a loving relationship is just the most wonderful thing in the world to have.
Mm.
um, but it doesn't guarantee that that person will be there to take care of you when you're older.
No.
So be ready to be independent and to take care of yourself. That's
Mm.
my advice.
That's amazing advice, Ray. How has it been then building friendships and community? Do you have a social circle or around yourselves, or are you like me and James and basically spend 24/7 together?
um, the answer is no, we really don't have a community of child free friends. Almost everyone we know has had children.
Okay.
And so I do have friends that have adult children. And so the children are not the entire focus of their lives at that point, at
Right.
this point. And
Mm.
so I'm able to enjoy their company just as women, just adult
Great.
women enjoying time
Mm.
together, going to events or whatever. But and in terms of having a child free community, no. And that's why I am so grateful to you and James for building
Oh.
this child free community. And when
Oh.
I found out about it, I was just so eager to become part of your group, because at this point, there is no child free community in my
Mm.
life other than we are child free.
Oh, well, we have to change that, Ray. I mean, yeah, like one thing I know is that this we call it a movement, but people who didn't want children have always existed. It's just the world basically either shamed them, pressured them, or they were ultimately forced to have children that they didn't want because there wasn't the reproductive autonomy. So, that it brings me a lot of hope to see that this community keeps growing, not because I don't want people to have children. I want people to have the things that they want. But I do recognize when I look around at the planet, the state of the planet that we have right now, we need to really be asking ourselves, what are we going to do for the people who are on this planet right now? And I think a lot of people are deciding not to have children because they're looking around saying, I don't know what the next 40, 50 years are going to look like. It's not getting easier, it's not getting better. We are using so much of our resources and not really doing anything to protect this one planet that we have. I mean, in our community, we have lots of folks who are very interested in things like the climate and animals and caring for the world around them. Did you ever have thoughts about what's happening to the state of the world? Do you see a shift from when you were younger to now?
Oh, very much so. And it's not a positive one, unfortunately. Bob and I often talk about how fortunate we were to have been born in the time that we were,
Mm,
and the experiences we were able to have as children, where we went out and played outdoors, and
right.
I made mud pies. I mean, you know, we
Yes.
had real child experiences,
Yeah.
and the world was not as scary a place at that time. So we were able to run about freely. I mean, I used to put my little doggie in the basket of my bicycle and go riding all over Houston just
Wow.
freely. You know, I was like 11, 12-year old kid, and
Yes.
I didn't have to worry about someone trying to molest me, or
Yes. Yeah.
it was a really good world in those
Mm,
days. And not having computers was actually a good thing, because if you wanted to find something out, you had to go to the library, and you interacted with people, and you learned new things, and you were
yeah.
exposed to ideas you hadn't been exposed to. Now everything on computer at your fingertips, and there's no motivation for creativity or socialization or self-development,
Yeah.
when one is just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling all day. So I have totally mixed feelings about the computer age.
Yeah.
That there are things that I really like about it. For example, having being able to shop online and have things delivered
Yes.
to my door. I love that.
Yeah. Yes.
But on the other hand, I'm texting everybody anymore. We don't. We used to pick up the phone and call, and person to
Yeah.
person connect, and
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of interpersonal interactions are just going by the wayside.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing in young people, and especially young men, it's unfortunate. It's just as
Yeah.
the people that are growing up without the opportunity to get outside and play and socialize and
Right.
develop those interpersonal skills that are so critical to a professional life.
Yeah.
And so these young people are really struggling,
Yeah.
because they are growing up in this age where there just is a huge disconnect between
Mm,
realness. There's a
yeah.
lot of fakeness online, and a lot of lack of authenticity. How does
Mm-hmm.
one find a partner? How does one genuinely connect with people if you're
Mm,
not having that face to face social interaction?
right.
So I'm sorry to say that what there have been wonderful advances in the world, and
Mm,
medicine and things like that that are positive, but the social media has been, unfortunately, a real drain
yeah.
on people's ability to connect authentically.
I completely agree. I think we have been very grateful in ways to be able to create this project, connect with child-free people all over the world. And I was going to say, when you mentioned about not having more child-free folks in your area, this is one thing that we must be able to help with, Ray, because I know sharing your podcast, there'll be so many people who are like, I need to be friends with Ray. So yeah, there'll be a way that we'll be able to allow people can get in touch with us, and I keep seeing as well things like apps, things are going to allow people to connect. But you're right, there's almost a missing part here. Seeing someone on an app is it's only the first step, and actually it's all of the other steps that take so much more resilience and confidence and just putting yourself out there. James and I were millennials, and our generation was James is Gen X, sorry, I'm millennial, but we had to call each other on a phone. And I'm really grateful for that kind of it gives you this kind of confidence in I can tackle these things. I can push through my fear and my discomfort, and I can do things that I don't really want to do, but I have to do it. And and that's how you learn and grow. So I have this kind of double-edged sword of I'm very grateful it's allowed We Are Child Free to be able to connect with people all over the world, which is amazing. but we're still under the thumb of these tech billionaires who
Exactly.
control everything, and they
Yeah.
control when we put out content and stories, and when we try and advocate for reproductive health care, they remove those
Mhm.
stories, they suppress those stories, and we are just at the helm of these tech billionaires who get to decide who gets more of a spotlight and who doesn't. And obviously, the work and the accounts and the people who are doing very important work, like fighting for reproductive justice, fighting for women's rights, all of those things, they don't want those things to exist, because a woman like you, Ray, who you pushed through all of that kind of sexism, and you faced a really big battle, which was of your time, and a time back then which was women didn't really have a lot of options to get into those careers that you did, and you were strong enough to be able to push through that. But it takes a lot to do that, and right now it feels like those people at the top, they don't want women to have careers, they don't want women to have reproductive healthcare and access to bodily autonomy. You live in America, so I know it must be a very stressful time right now, because you grew up in a time which women were gaining freedom and autonomy and rights, and the women before you had, and your generation had fought for those. And now we're going backwards, it seems. And in America, it feels like it isn't just America, it is a lot of other countries as well. It feels like it's not just America, sadly. But how does that make you feel to be in a place that seems to be going backwards for women's rights?
Well, it was very disappointing, heartbreaking, really, when Roe v. Wade was
Yeah.
overturned in the United
Mm,
States, because I had the opportunity to grow up with that protection and to see how America is just going so backwards under the
mm,
current administration. I won't call it leadership because it is not
right.
leadership,
Mm-mm,
but under the current administration, definitely they're trying to push women back into the barefoot and pregnant and always in the kitchen
right.
scenario. And it
Mm,
is very disappointing. That is why I am a regular supporter of Planned Parenthood.
mm,
And I will speak up every chance I have
yeah.
to say that women have every right to be as independent as a man is.
Yes.
Um, and especially, I want to mention, one time I was watching television and a female doctor, mentioned that all humans start out as female.
Mm,
And that's why you can't tell the sex or the gender of a baby until I guess it's about 2 or 3 months into the development of the fetus,
mm-hmm.
because it is simply a matter of, do the ovaries stay in place and
Yeah.
does the vagina stay open, or
Mm-hmm.
do the ovaries drop down and become testicles and the vagina seals itself and the clitoris becomes the head of the penis.
Yeah. Yes.
So
100%.
it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we all start out as female, so
Yeah.
why in the world does having a penis make someone so extraordinarily powerful or different? I just don't
I,
understand. We all
yeah.
start out as female.
Right. Right. That seems to be definitely hidden away, doesn't it, though? This kind
Yes,
of
it does.
information is it's never common knowledge. It's very much
Exactly.
kept quiet, because yeah,
Hmm.
when you do delve into the species, the human race, and you
Hmm.
realize that what's happening right now, patriarchy, is actually a blip in the whole of human existence. We didn't always have society run this way, in this hierarchy, in a patriarchal way. We didn't actually have that. And I think probably, yeah, what's happening now is that the world is just getting worse and worse because of this split, because we are in this patriarchy. And if we could just get out of it, and I guess this is the fight, this is what they're fighting against, is that we are really close to not having it. Because when women finally do get equality and actually say, we deserve to be treated just like men. We no longer have that hierarchy. We are equals, and they are really fighting against that, aren't they?
Very much so. Do not like the idea. Want to stay in power at all costs.
Right. Mm,
And usually the cost is usually upon the female
yes.
half of the population.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting. I saw a program one time about a country in Africa. I apologize, I don't remember the name of the exact country, but women had come to be in the positions of power. And
Mm,
when the women were in all the higher positions, they all worked together in a way that only women seem to be able to do, and
right.
made so many improvements to their country. People were finding homes, they were being fed, children and other animals, small animals, were being treated kindly and
Mm,
respectfully and receiving everything that they needed. And it was because it was a matriarchal
right.
situation in which all these women worked together. And if
Mm,
you go into any office situation, and probably in the world, but especially in America,
hmm.
you will find that when there's a group of women doing something, they work together very effectively and they get the job done. When
Right.
there's a group of men doing something, they're always one upping each other and
Mm,
fighting against each other
yeah.
and trying to outdo the other. And they
Hmm.
end up not being nearly as effective as a
Yeah.
working group as women are.
Hmm.
And so if men can let women occasionally, or excuse me, if men can let women, if men would only step aside for
Right.
women to take the lead occasionally, then there would be so much more harmony and
Mm,
effectiveness and coordination within a working group, because
right.
women know how to bring out the cooperation in others.
Mm,
We're very,
absolutely.
we are natural leaders. We really
Yeah.
are. So
Yes.
it makes sense that women should be in more powerful positions.
Mm.
And I can't wait till America finally grows up and has a woman president.
Oh, me too. We're all waiting for it. Yeah,
Yes.
you're so right. When you look at the research, countries with female leaders do better. We hear all the time that women are emotional. Women can't, they can't lead. Absolute rubbish. The most
Mhm.
emotional erratic behavior I have ever seen are from the men at the top. When you look at leaders, I even hate saying the word lead, let's people who have Trump, Elon Musk, these men are the most irrational, emotional, and we women get labeled emotional and told that no you can't lead because you're just not you don't have it in you and I'm like they're trying to convince us so hard that we are terrible that we would make terrible leaders that you can't trust yourself, no, don't go for that job, don't do it. And I want women so badly to ignore all of that noise. And you ignored that noise, Ray. You stuck to what you believed about yourself, which was you knew you were absolutely not any less worthy than a man. You actually knew that you were damn good at your jobs. And you weren't going to let someone tell you, don't go for that. Don't do that. You shouldn't be here. You kept going. And I hope that younger women can really tap into that kind of strength that you had, Ray, and know that they deserve to have those positions. They deserve to be in those positions of power. And you're absolutely right. We would have a much better world, society, if women were at the top. That's a
Absolutely.
fact. It's a
It
fact.
is. It's a simple fact.
Yeah, and men would be better off as well if they
They
allowed it as
really
well.
would. Absolutely. They would be a
Yeah,
lot happier.
yeah,
and
right,
and men in relationships, that's been studied over and over. Men in relationships are ever so much happier than their
right,
single bachelor counterparts.
right. Hmm.
So yeah, that's the I feel extremely fortunate in having found my husband in that he is uh, a man who is not afraid to let his feminine side show, if you will. He's proud to be someone who he's a provider, but he also likes to be responsible for the state of our home. He likes that I like to keep the house neat. He likes that. And he likes to keep our gardens neat. And I like that. And he's very sensitive and very empathetic. And you
Mm,
don't always find that in a lot of men. And so I feel extremely fortunate to have found someone that
mm,
sounds very much like James seems to be with you, someone who is
yes,
supportive, loving, and
yes,
appreciates the beauty of femininity rather than
yes.
wanting to oppress it. And that
Mm.
is really nice. He's also, if I may say, he's also a wonderful daddy bird.
Yes, you have to tell me more. I can hear in the background the chorus of little tweets,
Oh,
and
yes.
so the bird calls. So is this what you mean, Ray?
Yes, he's taking care of our bird right now as
Oh,
we are
is he?
speaking.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So tell me more about this. Yeah, this is so interesting. How many birds do you have again?
We have only one now. This is our
Okay.
very last one, but
Okay.
we have kept birds for a little over 40 years.
Wow.
And we had five parakeets, or budgeriggers as they're known, and then five cockatiels. And
Wow.
birds are just amazing creatures. They are so interactive. Many people think of them as a thing that sits in a cage and tweets, but no, not at all. Birds
Mm.
are extremely personable. They have so much character and so much
Mm.
individualism, and so that's why they're so much fun to watch, because birds are
Yeah.
just fascinating creatures. My mother loved birds, and she instilled that love of birds in me. When Bob and I met, we both had dogs. I had a small little mutt. She looked just like Toto in The Wizard of Oz, except that she was all
Oh.
black.
Oh, sweet.
and Bob had a chow dog, one of those pretty red dogs with the black tongues.
Oh,
And
yeah.
actually, that's how we met. We were living in a fourplex in Houston, and he
Mm.
had a downstairs apartment. I had an upstairs apartment. And I was leaving one day with my little doggie, and his dog got loose and attacked my dog.
No. Oh, dear.
When I had to take her to the vet because she was in really
Oh,
bad shape.
no.
And then I took her upstairs I had her in my arms with her little stitches all over her back.
Oh,
And
bless.
I said, I'm sorry, but your dog attacked my dog, and I have to ask you to please pay at least half of the vet bill. And he said,
Yes.
I'll pay it all. Well,
Oh,
right then I knew
you
that was a good guy.
he's a keeper, Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
such
so
a
he
good
was,
sign.
yeah, so he was very compassionate, and he
Mm.
felt very badly that his doggie had hurt mine. And
Oh.
we lived together for several years with the two doggies, and it was unfortunate. We had to keep them separate. His chow dog
Oh.
was very jealous of other female dogs, and so
Okay.
it
Oh,
didn't work too
no.
well. So
Yeah.
eventually, both the doggies passed,
Mm.
and I had this love of birds that I could not shake. And so I decided one day, I was driving past a pet store, and I regret that I bought an animal from a pet store. I didn't know better, and
Oh,
now I do.
that's exactly. We all make mistakes, right?
Yes.
You do enough, Ray.
You live and learn, right? So
Exactly.
anyway,
Exactly.
yeah. So I bought a little parakeet, and Bob was one of those persons that thought that a bird just sits in a cage and tweets.
Okay.
And very soon he was quite amazed to learn that this little parakeet not only would fly to him, he would put his beak
Oh.
on his cheek and say, "Mwah! I love you, Daddy Bird."
Oh. Wow. How amazing.
And yeah, and he learned to talk and to make sentences on his own that had context to a situation. I mean, it was
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
He really educated us and opened our eyes that birds and other animals are so amazing and so full of
Mm.
richness and personality and intelligence.
Right.
And so our mutual fascination and love of birds was born then. And we
Oh.
continue to adopt them and adopt them and adopt them. The problem, unfortunately, with little parakeets is that they only live about 8 years. And so by the
Okay.
time you're completely in love
In
with them
love.
and wrapped
Mm.
all around their little toes,
Oh.
they pass away.
Oh, that's
So,
hard.
yeah, so we didn't have any little birds for a while until one day Bob was at work at Walt Disney Imagineering in Burbank, California. That's the theme park division of Walt Disney.
Okay.
They were in charge
Hmm.
of all the theme parks around the world. And they
Right.
had an outdoor patio where people would have their lunch. And there were always blue jays coming around scrounging for leftovers and what have you around. One day he felt a bird land on his head, and he put his hand up to brush the bird away, but the bird stepped on his hand. And he brought
No.
his hand down, and it was a cockatiel.
What?
And this cockatiel was looking for a home.
Oh my gosh.
So he put the cockatiel in a paper bag, brought him
Wow.
home, and we had old cages left over from when we had the parakeets. He
Yeah,
put that cockatiel in that cage, and that cockatiel was so happy to be cared for.
I bet.
And we later, this is getting into really wild stories, but we heard of an animal communicator by the name of Lydia Hibby, and we contracted her to come and tell us about this bird story. She
Wow.
did. She found out that he had been the pet of a little boy, but one day the window was left open and this bird would like to ride on the little boy's turntable that played records. And he was riding around, and it got going too fast, and the little bird took off and went out the window, and he was lost. And he was looking for
Wow.
someone to take care of him.
Oh
And
my
when he was
gosh.
flying overhead, animals can communicate through images rather than words. And so
Okay.
when this little bird was flying overhead, he saw the images in Bob's head that Bob had birds in his home. And
Yeah.
that's why he chose to land on Bob's
I
head. This is
mean,
what the animal communicator told us.
well, I what who knows if
Who
that's
knows?
true, but it's a lovely story, and
Yeah,
what something drew that little bird to Bob, right? I mean,
right. Absolutely.
it could have landed on anyone or anything, and clearly there was a pull there, which is so beautiful. So
Yeah.
you rescued the bird, and
We rescued the bird. He became known as Cheeky Peaches. And after that, Bob had a coworker who was becoming married, and the fellow had birds and the woman had cats. So the fellow decided to give up the birds,
right.
and we became their adoptee parents, if you will, bird
Oh,
parents.
yes.
And so we had those birds. And then when we moved from Burbank to where we are currently in Beaumont, California, a woman contacted us and asked if we would adopt one of her birds.
Oh, wow. This is what
And
happens. You see, you're known
yes,
now around. You're going to
for
be
being bird
known to
people.
people. Yeah, that's it.
Right,
Oh, but
right.
that's so
So,
beautiful, though.
yeah. So we've had, as I say, we've had 10 over the 40 years. The last one is still
Oh,
with us. He's approximately
fabulous.
31 years old.
No, I didn't even know that they could live that age. Wow.
We didn't either. We thought that they lived till about 25.
Oh
So
God. Oh wow.
when we adopted him, we expected he would live till about 25, and then we would be traveling. But no, he's
Wow.
still with us,
Oh my.
and we
Okay.
aren't
So you,
traveling yet.
I think you're looking after him too well. Clearly, he's. Yeah, I'm just going to stick around. That this is a really good deal.
He's really happy here.
I bet. Who wouldn't be with you and Bob? What a wonderful life he must have
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's our family, if you will. We
yeah.
are mommy bird and daddy bird, but that's as far as it goes.
I love it.
The-
I love it.
but it's great because birds, you put them to bed at night and you're
Mm,
done. We don't have to
okay.
put them through college. We don't have to buy them cars. we,
It's perfect.
it's really perfect.
It's a great deal, right? It's a great, and you still get all the love and all the
Yes,
cuddles and
exactly. And so it's wonderful,
the best bits.
Yeah, yeah. It's all
So,
the good parts without all of the angst that
oh,
goes
so
with human
yeah.
children.
Yes, yes, absolutely. No, I know which route I would choose. Absolutely. So then, you and Bob, you have this vision for traveling. At some point, you would love to kind of get out and explore more. Where do you have in your mind where you would love to go?
Bob really wants to go to Costa Rica because a
Mm.
friend of his has gone there several times and has waxed favorably and emotionally about how great a place it is to visit.
Mm.
And I want to go there because it will finally give me a chance to use my Spanish. I have very little opportunity to use it here. I speak with my hairdresser and the man
Oh,
at the cleaners,
yes,
people at the
yes.
car wash, but not a lot of. And Bob is not interested in learning another language, so
Okay.
he just wants me to be his translator, which I'm happy to be. But
uh, I mean, yeah, there seems to be a similar pattern in our relationship. James loves languages and loves words, and so he's also learning Spanish. So you folks need to get together and practice the
yeah,
Spanish talking, because
definitely.
I mean, it's a brilliant learning a language is so powerful. Being able traveling that we've been doing the last 2.5 years in the van, and it just opens doors. It just makes life so much easier, and I just think it's wonderful that you've it doesn't matter if you don't get to practice it all the time. You're gonna get to Costa Rica and be able to do it then, which is very exciting. So I can't wait to hear more about those travels.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just love hearing you've created such a rich, full life, Ray. You and Bob, you've created a life that is so unique and yours, and it's so inspiring to hear that, because we don't see many examples of people without children who are in their 70s. We don't have that image in our head. So a lot of people in our community, they have fear around what it's like to grow older without children. And this is why we're doing this series, because it's so important for people to have that kind of representation, to let go of the fears, and to see examples of people who live and love their child-free life. What advice would you give to maybe the younger folks who have that kind of fear around what their life might look like as they age without children?
I would say follow your instinct. If you feel in your heart, in your gut, that you don't want to be a parent, don't be a parent.
Mm,
Do what is right for you, and you will be happy no matter what. As a matter of fact, I once read a wonderful book called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And
mm,
that is absolutely true.
mm-hmm,
If you're yourself as someone who wants to be independent and you want to be professional and follow a career,
mm-hmm,
go for it. This is the time to do it. A lot of people before you have worked really hard for you to be able to strike out, be independent, and to live your life as you choose to live, regardless of what society says. Do
mm,
what is right for you. That's my
mm.
advice always.
That's fabulous advice, Ray. And I mean, this is something that we have been told so many times, that we'll regret our decision to not have kids. What would you say to people who would say you will have regretted your decision to not have children?
I would say you're more likely to regret your decision to have children because
Mm,
children will bring all kinds of angst and anxiety into your life. To live a life child free is to live a life so independently, so free, so rewarding, so
mm,
rich, so wonderful, because you can develop everything that is rich within you. You can bring out the
mm,
best of yourself. You don't have to focus on another being's interests. And if that sounds selfish, I'm confused, because to me, bringing out the best in oneself is what a person is born to do. No, aren't
mm,
we here to develop ourselves and become the best that we can possibly be as individuals? So I think that people who have children are far more likely to be, unfortunately, the ones who are regretting their choice,
mm.
because their expectations are very likely not to be met. For
Right.
those who are, wonderful. I'm so glad it
Mm-hmm,
worked out for you, and I wish it could be that way for everyone.
mm-hmm.
But there's no guarantee that your children will be there to look after you when you are older. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
No, that's it. That's it.
go for your independence and go for what's right for you.
Mm, I love that, Ray.
Yeah.
So, are you and Bob, do you have a plan for later in life? Because this is the other idea. We talked about it earlier about we do all die alone. We do. But have you taken extra steps to make sure that you have a plan in place for if one of you is by yourself?
Yes, we do. And I'll even go a little beyond that. We have already picked out a green burial spot for ourselves.
Mm,
we
amazing.
have yes, we know very, I mean, we're both in our 70s. We know we only have a few years of life left. So we decided, first of all, we don't want our passing to be a burden on anyone. We have lots of nieces and nephews, but only one niece that we're extremely close with.
Mm,
And she has agreed to take on the task of clearing and selling our home when it's done,
right.
because we've willed our home to her. So she will be taking care of the matter of getting rid of all of the earthly
Right.
possessions. But we didn't want her to have to deal with funeral issues. So we went ahead and we found a nice green burial place in Joshua Tree National Park right next to it.
Oh,
And
wow.
the burial process is very simple. When we pass, they put us in a freezer, then they wrap us in a cloth wrap, and they put us on a board, and they lower us into a hand dug grave. And
Mm.
I emphasize hand dug because it is green. There's no
Right.
machinery involved. And then they bury us, put rocks on top of us to keep the animals away, and then cover it with dirt. And
Mm.
we can decorate the graves with whatever is available naturally around in the area. We can't
Mm.
bring anything artificially. So we're all ready with our green burials. And if one of us is alone, Bob has lots of friends that he has cultivated through his membership at a golf club. He is an avid golfer, and he's
Wow.
been involved in the golf club out here for well over 15 years. So he has a lot of friends that way. And as for me, I have my girlfriends that are not close, but they are within this part of technology I like. They are within contact
Yes.
through technology.
Yes.
And also I'm developing some new friends in my protesting activities in the animal rights community. So we each have built up some friendships that we can call upon when we are alone.
Mm.
But also, we are just each very strong individual people, and we feel that we will be comfortable with ourselves living alone as necessary, and that we'll have social connection, but we will also be okay if we're just on our own. And I think that's something that people need to cultivate within themselves throughout the course of their lives, is the
Mm.
strength to be alone and to
Mm.
be your own company, because that day is very likely to come.
Mm.
And yes, it's important to be your own best friend and
Mm.
be ready to be there for yourself when no one else might be.
Oh, that's incredible advice, Ray. I just love that we can have a conversation like this because people are so scared to think about their own death and mortality. But like we've said before, we all die alone, and it's a practical
Mhm.
thing that we all should take on that responsibility ourselves and to just, yeah, to think about it. It's like this last chance to go, what do I want my last memory on this planet to be like? What do I want it to be like? And I think that's such a really beautiful way to have a lasting impact or to go back into this world. And I love that you've just thought about it so much. And people really, we should all think about it, right?
It's a fact of life. So
Yeah.
there's nothing to be afraid of. I think
Yeah.
it's something to look forward to. Life is work. Life is hard. I'm looking forward to a nice long rest.
I mean, you have crammed so much into it, Ray. So you and Bob have you've crammed a lot into that, and I think yeah, like it's funny. Obviously, we all have our own thoughts around death and mortality. I am like you in that I am just very matter of fact about it. I remember for university, one of my projects I did was about death and about trying to destigmatize it because it's still this thing that we are so terrified to talk about and it impacts so many different areas of our lives, organ donation, things like that. People, they don't want to think about it, so it means we don't think about it until it's too late, until our family members or our friends have to deal with it. And that's something that James and I are exactly like you both. I don't want to leave that burden to anyone else. And I think it's our responsibility to really just tackle this. This is just like any other part of life. But yeah, funnily of James, I don't know what Bob's like, but James is he is more scared about death. And I just wondered whether this is a male female thing, whether yeah, women are just kind of like okay, it's just another thing for us to process and to go through and to I mean, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure you can have different thoughts and feelings around it no matter what your sex. But how is Bob? Is he similar to you, kind of like that's
It's
just yeah.
just very pragmatic. Yes, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a fact of life, and let's prepare for it, and let's not be a
Yeah.
burden on anyone else.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are so many alternatives now. People can compost themselves. Even I mean, I don't
Oh
know if you've heard
wow.
of human
No.
composting, but
No.
yes, it is something that one can choose. The way it works is the body is put into, I believe it's a metal tube, and certain organic components are introduced to help accelerate the decomposition process. And
Okay.
once the body has been fully decomposed, it can be put into a garden or
Wow.
used in any other way that any compost material would be used.
Wow.
So there are green burials. The cremation, as you say, is not really a green choice,
No.
but there are the natural green burials and there are human composting
Mm.
choices. So there are many, many ways that one can leave this world without causing further resource damage.
That's it.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, with that, with being a true steward to the earth, going back
Yes.
as naturally as we came.
Yes. That's such an incredible way to live your life, I think. We just have, I believe we have one chance at life and we got one planet. So I don't want my life to impact it in such a harmful way. And you and Bob have thought so much about this and just with your work with animals and I just think it's such an incredible story to share with that community, Ray. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. And when I read your story, I was like, oh gosh, I hope she would be up for being on the podcast because it was just so inspiring reading your story. And it's going to help. It's going to help so many other women out there know that they don't have to diminish themselves to fit in. They don't have to change who they are to fit in. They are perfect just as they are. They don't need
Exactly.
to change anything. They don't need to fix anything. So thank you just for being able to be here and share your story with this community.
Thank you so much for creating the community, Zoe and
Oh,
James. I am so grateful to you both. It's
oh,
such a privilege to be a member of such a forward thinking and progressive movement that embraces people who deserve to be embraced and need to be embraced as well. So
mm.
thank you. I love We Are Child Free Community.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Ray. That means everything to James and I. We couldn't do this work without the courage of people like you who share their stories because our community is built on our stories and we believe it's changing the world for the better. I know it's changed my life. Reading the stories has given me so much strength and being able to talk to child-free people but child-free women especially that's truly what's changed my life. As soon as I found out I wasn't alone and that there were millions of us out there, I now realize there are millions of us out there. But that first meeting with a child free woman, and I just got to hear that they are just like me. There is nothing wrong with me. It changed my life forever. So I couldn't do this, and James and I couldn't do this without the courage of the people who share their stories with us. So this is a real community led project. So thank you, Ray, for that. That means everything to James and I. And you truly were a trailblazer, a child free woman who stood up for what they believed in and didn't bend to what society says is a woman. You were so strong in that, and that just gives me so much more strength to go, I can do this too. So thank you, Ray, and thank you, Bob, as well, for being incredible support to you. I wish I could transport over there and meet you both in person. Keep everything crossed that we get to get our little van over to the US one day because it would be an honor to meet you both.
Likewise, I can't think of anything I would enjoy more. It would be
Yes.
such a pleasure to meet you and
Oh,
James in person.
we're gonna try our best. We've always had this in our head to get over to the US because there are so many incredible folks over there who we'd love to come and meet you and photograph you, especially Ray. I would love to do that and just we'll keep everything crossed. We can make it work.
Toes are all crossed too.
Absolutely.